Cutdown day left us with a few fantasy situations to analyze. I'm Joe Dolan, and this is the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup for Wednesday, August 31st, 2022.
It's time for the FantasyPoints.com Daily Lineup. Staying on top of the latest news and updates around the NFL. Rise and shine, folks. We're taking the field. Here's your host, FantasyPoints.com's Joe Dolan.
Starting at quarterback today for perhaps the trendiest team in the NFL is the Eagles' Jalen Hurts. Now, there's no news about Hurts in particular. He had a generally strong training camp and was flawless the only time we saw him during the preseason, going 6 for 6 and throwing a touchdown pass in his only drive this August. But what I am intrigued by is how all in the Eagles are around Hurts. They have set him up in an absolutely pristine situation. His top two wide receivers, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, are perhaps the best 25 and under wide receiver duo in the NFL, not named Jason Higgins. His tight end, Dallas Goedert, is a stud. The offensive line is legitimately too deep. And while the running back room is inconsistent, there's talent there too. Now, defensively, the Eagles improved the weakest spot on their generally studly roster yesterday, acquiring safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson and a 7th-round pick from the Saints for a 5th-round pick and a 6th-round pick. Gardner-Johnson's one of the best slot and deep middle defenders in the NFL, and that's all it took to get him. He does want a new contract, however, so we'll see where that goes. But keep in mind that the Eagles already acquired an extra 6th-round pick in a deal for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. So they essentially dealt J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and a 5th for Gardner-Johnson and a 7th. By the way, the Seahawks cut Arcega-Whiteside yesterday. Why do teams even pick up the phone when Howie Roseman calls? First of all, Gardner-Johnson is going to be a fan favorite in Philly. A supreme trash talker, CGJ, typically backs up his bark with his bite. Indeed, he's got that dog in him and is someone teams hate to play against. But when it comes to Hurts, the thing that stands out is how ready the Eagles are to compete. This is a legitimate Super Bowl roster, but can Hurts take them there? Now, take these observations from training camp from Philly Voice's Jimmy Kempski, who graded Hurts every day. Kempski writes, "There's little question in my mind that Hurts looked better in 2022 training camp than he did in 2021, particularly on the accuracy front. I also thought that he worked on a number of the deficient areas of his game, including the following. 1, he worked the middle of the field extensively and did not seem to overly favor the right side of the field over the left side, as he so blatantly did during the 2021 regular season. 2, there were times early in camp that he was quick to leave the pocket and run, even on occasions in 7-on-7s when there's no pass rush. There's no question that he can make plays with his legs, and he should continue to do so in real games, but practices are for correcting deficient areas. However, as the summer wore on, he looked to win more from the pocket instead of using his running ability as a crutch. And 3, I thought he looked more decisive and quicker getting the ball out in practices than he has been in the past. Overall, while I do not think Hurts made a meteoric jump in camp like Carson Wentz did in 2017, which was between Wentz's rookie season and his second, I do think Hurts will be a better player in 2022 than he was a season ago, regardless of the addition of talent surrounding him. Now, the thing is, Hurts doesn't have to carry this roster. It's good enough to get to the postseason with a quarterback who merely avoids actively hurting the roster. But if Hurts takes a step forward, this could be really scary. Now, despite all the talent the Eagles added this offseason, the general manager Roseman still has 6 picks in the first 2 rounds over the next 2 NFL drafts to either add more talent or replace Hurts. I, for one, am optimistic. I think the Eagles being so aggressive this season means they believe Hurts can take a huge step forward, and that's why he's such a fun quarterback to have in fantasy. Starting at running back today, and we really mean it this time, is the Texans' Dameon Pierce. Now, while Jonathan M. Alexander of the Houston Chronicle notes that Coach Lovie Smith declined Monday to name a starting running back in the Texans' backfield, we got a little bit extra news on Tuesday that further indicates what Houston really thinks of the rookie Pierce. The Texans cut veteran Marlon Mack, who, when signed this offseason, was assumed by many to be the de facto starter in what was a very thin backfield last year. But the emergence of Pierce, the steadiness of Rex Burkhead, and perhaps Mack's own struggles with recovery from the Achilles tear he suffered in 2020 meant the Texans had to make a tough decision. Royce Freeman also outplayed Mack this summer. Now, we've already said enough about Pierce on this show, but let's allow someone who would know to sum it up. Here is what legendary Houston sports writer John the General McClain had to say in a tweet posted on Monday night. At his news conference today, McClain writes, Lovie Smith wouldn't commit to rookie running back Dameon Pierce as his starter. Of course he is. Lovie's not stupid. He knows, like everyone else, Pierce is so much better than the veteran running backs, it's not even close. He'll make sure to have his best 11 out there. And when the general talks, we listen. Pierce had one of the biggest ADP rocket ships in recent memory throughout camp in the preseason, and it's continuing. He doesn't even make it to round 6 in many leagues right now. In fact, in our staff draft just last night, I took him as my running back 1 in round 4. Trust me, I'm absolutely yoked at wide receiver. I posted the team on my Twitter account at FG_Dolan. Go check it out. If you want to do a 0 RB build, I thought I did a pretty freaking good job of that. At our other running back spot, we have some clarity in Miami. One of the first notable cuts of the week came on Monday when the Dolphins released veteran back Sony Michel. Now, Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert seem to be Miami's top backfield duo, as they have been all offseason. These were the first 2 guys that coach Mike McDaniel signed when he arrived in Miami. But McDaniel seems to have gone with Myles Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed as the backup options, although it's important to remember that rosters can still change as teams navigate the waiver process. Now, Michel's release should make Miami's backfield a little more fantasy-friendly, with Edmonds and Mostert splitting the carries and Edmonds handling passing work. Of course, that's the plan for as long as Mostert stays healthy, but Mostert's lack of doing just that is one of the reasons it was a bit surprising to see Michel released. Now, McDaniel is a run game savant, which makes Edmonds at 83 overall and running back 28, and Mostert at 158 overall and running back 54, potential values at their respective ADPs in what should be an improved offense. Meanwhile, Michel is flying to California to meet with the Chargers on Wednesday per NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, and Michel could bolster that backfield behind Austin Eckler. So those who spent best ball picks on Michel aren't totally cooked yet. The Chargers were clearly disappointed in rookie Isaiah Spiller this camp, though it remains to be seen if Michel can pass a physical with all his chronic knee issues. Now let's stay in Miami for our first wide receiver spot, where we're getting dangerously close to a player being questionable for week 1. According to Pro Football Network's Adam Beasley, Dolphins second-year wideout Jaylen Waddle has not practiced for 3 weeks now, and the concern is that it is a lower body soft tissue injury. Per our Dr. Edwin Porras, there's no way to confirm that speculation, but if it does happen to be a hamstring strain, there's approximately a 22% recurrence rate overall. And of that 22%, 86% recur within the same NFL season. If Waddle does suffer a setback, the consequence is anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks of missed time. Now, the hope is that this becomes a non-issue, but no practice for 3 weeks is objectively more than just precautionary, though, of course, you can take it easier in August than you can in September. Waddle's availability for week 1, though presumed, is not a slam dunk until more clarity on the situation becomes available. Now, fortunately, we'll get that clarity next week. NFL teams do have to put out official injury reports heading into week 1, so we'll learn a lot more then. At our second wide receiver spot, we have someone a lot in the draft community liked in 2020. The Buccaneers waived third-year wideout Tyler Johnson on Tuesday, our friend Greg Allman of The Athletic reports. Johnson was a favorite of many headed into the 2020 NFL draft, but he fell to the 5th round because of athleticism concerns. You might remember that he formed an extremely productive wide receiver duo with Rashad Bateman at Minnesota. Now, at the NFL level, Tyler Johnson hasn't assuaged those athleticism concerns, and he's also had some key drops to go with them. He also wasn't able to take advantage of the Bucs losing Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown late in the 2021 season. failing to score a touchdown despite an increased role. Nonetheless, he has a sparkling production profile from college and will be one of the most popular names on the wire for wide receiver needy clubs. Johnson has 48 catches in 2 years with the Bucs in a part-time role. Now, he likely profiles best as a big slot receiver, given his overall lack of athleticism. He's a name to watch for dynasty players if he lands in the right spot. In our flex spot, Pete Carroll's talking again, and he's talking about rookie running back Kenny Walker. Remember, Walker is returning from surgery for an inguinal hernia. Here's what old Pete had to say about Walker on Tuesday when speaking to the media for Michael Sean Dugar of The Athletic. This is really uncharted territory for him and for us too, Carroll said, what he's coming back from. He feels way better. He's moving around. All right. He was throwing a football around today. He's having a good old time. It's just going to be one day at a time. Now, keep in mind that Walker had this surgery 3 weeks ago, and the timeline of such a recovery, per our Dr. Edwin Porras, is 2 to 6 weeks, with 2 being really fast. Now, there's no reason to think that Walker has had any setbacks, but just that it appears he'll be on the longer end of that recovery timeline. Now, even if it takes a really long time, he should be back by week 4 at the latest, barring setbacks. Meanwhile, starting running back Rashad Penny returned to the Seahawks following a bout with COVID and should be good to go in week 1. I'm Joe Dolan, and this has been the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup. Remember to like this video. There's that little thumbs up button. Like this. Do that, please. And also subscribe to the Fantasy Points YouTube channel for the daily lineup and all of our other videos. We're going to have more shows to announce throughout the 2022 NFL season, including one by Wes Huber on Mondays. That's going to be awesome, and you need to check it out. Now, if you haven't had your fantasy draft yet, please let us help at fantasypoints.com. Go to fantasypoints.com for all of your draft needs with projections, cheat sheets, and articles. We're going to have them updated constantly over the next few days heading into and over the weekend. And once the season starts, we'll help you make your roster as strong as possible with our industry-leading articles, tools, and projections. And what's more, use code LINEUP22 for an extra 10% off any package. So if you're betting or playing DFS, that LINEUP22 code gets you our premium package as well, 10% off. Pretty good deal. Good luck in your drafts tonight. I got one with Tom Brawley and Graham Barfield. We're doing an NFFC draft tonight. NFFC primetime, baby. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.